And welcome to Hero Power. This is episode 194. And as always, I'm your host, Avantes, and I'm joined by my co-host, Zeroshia.
Oh, he didn't hit me this week. Hey gang, what is up? As you guys see, I was up visiting family this weekend and all that, so I decided to come by and hang out with Avantes right at the comfort of his house. It's not a show until I get chopped in the chest. We got a great show this week. A little bit more information on the Blitz Chung situation, and obviously some of the casters and pro players' reactions to the Blitz Chung situation. We'll talk about Tavern Brawl this week and some of the stuff going on. But before that, we got email.
Not just one email. We got two listener emails to talk about this week. And one of them actually came in like a week ago, and I missed it. So I want to apologize up front to Dr. Second. But we're not going to leave you for second. We're going to read your email first.
Yeah.
So it says, "Hi guys, been listening for quite some time. This is my first time writing in. Your accounts of your time in Tombs of Terror made me think you'd like my account. Now, note, this is not truly my first run, as I died on my first boss on my first run.
Oops.
But on the second run, I basically rolled my way to the final boss with no real issue, undoubtedly helped by my treasures of the Alchemist Stone and the Battle Totem. More importantly, I somehow picked up a Syndragosa in my deck, along with a bunch of secrets, lots of minions, and not much burn. I was slowly chipping away where the boss was down about 70 health, and I'm down about 25. So I'm thinking I can get about halfway through this. Then, on about turn 10, I play a discounted Syndragosa, which brings 4 frozen champions from the double battle cry. Of course, I play it on the right, so that the champion will rotate over to the other side. I should note that I have a splitting image in play, and 2 duplicates, and a cheat death in my hand.
Good gosh.
So the board rotates, the boss trades the 1-2 champion, gets a legendary, which turns out to be Lore Walker Cho,
Nice.
which he then plays. And now the clown fiesta begins. Neither of us are killing Cho, and all these duplicate cards keep copying frozen champions, generating legendaries and filling the board and hands with legendaries, which keep getting traded every turn. At one point, we both had 3 secrets down, and most of the board frozen champs. So, more duplication, more clown fiesta. Then, finally, the boss gets Gazrilla.
Oh my gosh.
I get an idea. So I clear his board to get Gazrilla on the left, and then start running frozen champs into it, get it up to a 48 attack. Then, on the last hit, I get Halatzi. So I play it, and run 3 more Lynxes into it to get it to 384 attack, and 3 health. And somehow, I had an Earthen Ring Farseer, so I healed it back to 6 health. Past the turn, chanting, "No charge, no rush. No charge, no rush." Now, the boss runs a frozen champ into one of my other minions, a taunted lackey. And then, immediately, from the right side of the board, produced by the frozen champ, Leroy Jenkins.
Oh no.
He runs it into the taunt, and then produces the Shadow Step that I gave him when Cho was on the board. And oops, he picks up the Leroy again. He plays the Leroy again, and runs it into my face. I guess the AI programmers forgot to program in that you should kill the opponent's minion if it has over 300 attack.
Oh wow.
My turn, 392 to the face. I win. Guys, I really enjoy the podcast. Thanks so much for putting it on. Dr. Second, thank you so much for sending in that very entertaining play clip. That is awesome. That sounds like so much fun.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's always nice to find little intricacies in the AI that you can work around. But man, that is a nuts game. And it's really cool to know that you can skip all the different phases if you hit them hard enough.
That's right. All right. And our second email this week is in response to episode 193 and a half that we did on Wednesday night. And it is from listener Nova Terra. And Nova Terra says, I really hope people stop misleading the fact that this is not a one-way street. As much as people want to fight for human rights, this event only heated up when Blitz Chung got banned. I definitely agree with what they're fighting for, but if people actually went to Hong Kong to see for themselves, it's a two-way street at this point. No one is even right on either side. Both sides retaliated. My friend has relatives that live in Hong Kong, and he visits them. What I can say is that it's not looking good for civilians and bystanders, as even the protesters mock, beat, and humiliate anyone who disagrees with their views. Like I said, the reason behind the protest is fine, but the way they are using extreme tactics is not. The media now is misleading people, thinking Blizzard doesn't support human rights for banning a player who obviously broke the rules of the tournament. Gas masks were banned in Hong Kong due to people hiding their identities while performing these extreme actions. Blitz clearly knew what he was in for and did it anyway. I really hope people can see it's not as easy as support this side that's fighting for good, but also the way they do it and how it can affect the other people in Hong Kong. So first I want to say, Nova, thank you for sending us this. We love to hear from people who actually know people that live there and can give us other views of what's going on. And I hope we construed during our episode that we realize that, you know, both sides are, like you said, no one is right in this, and both sides have done things that are in the wrong. But I think, as Zeroshio said in the show, that Blitz Chung absolutely knew what he was doing and knew that it would be the best way to get this issue in front of the masses.
Yeah, and the big point to take here is Blitz Chung did this in a non-violent way. Now, albeit he didn't do it on the correct platform, he did it in a non-violent way. There are a lot of protesters out there. We were looking at some clips this morning retaliating with violence. Now, that a lot of that is because they're receiving violence from the Chinese authorities. But fighting fire with fire is not always the way to go. Now, am I saying they're wrong for defending themselves physically? It's hard for me to say because I'm not there. So I really don't want to say that they're wrong for doing that. But there are obviously, in a democratic way, which is what they're pushing for, is to make sure they keep their democracy in Hong Kong. There are ways they should be approaching this. Now, they may not be working. They may be getting frustrated. And yes, some of the protesters are retaliating against other civilians that are choosing not to protest. That, in my opinion, is wrong. But again, it's hard to say a lot of that when you're not there. Mm-hmm. We're hearing this through media. Media is going to change things or omit things to make sure that what they think is important gets across. I do think, and we're going to talk more about this when we talk about Blizzard's response to the recent upheaval from the community about their reaction to the Blitz Chung situation. But I agree with you 100%. There's definitely a lot of, not even just two stories, there's 3, 4, 5 different angles to look at this. We hope everything works out well. I still commend Blitz Chung for what he did, because he could have taken a more violent stance or urged people to be more violent. He never did that. So that's something real clear to do. But thank you for your email and your point of view, because it's very important. If anybody else has any more opinions or information on the situation in Hong Kong, feel free to email us at heropowerpodcast@gmail.com or tweet us at heropower_cast on Twitter.
Absolutely. All right. So with that, let's jump right into the news this week. So this is where we would normally recap what was happening with Blitz Chung, but we actually decided there was so much there that we just did a whole extra episode this week, 193 and a half. That should be available now in your RSS feeds if you guys want to check that out and haven't already. After we recorded that episode, there was a little more movement from the community side. We talked about Brian Kibler stepping away from the caster's desk because he didn't feel comfortable being the face of Blizzard on air at that point. Well, Admirable released a statement the next day joining Kibler, saying, he is fortunate enough to be in a situation to where he can choose to step away and not have to, feel like he has to compromise his morals to do this. And so, he got a huge boost from the community supporting his decision going forward. He said that, unless something changed with Blizzard, he would not be casting any more Grandmasters, and he would not be involved in casting at BlizzCon.
And we're going to hold on that topic of Nathan, that's Admiral Zamora, and Brian Kibler Gaming a little later in the news, because that change might have happened. But we also got some statements from other casters like Raven and Soddle, basically having a solidarity with their other fellow casters, but advising that due to their situation, they're going to stay with Blizzard.
Due to they're going to continue in their contractual agreements.
Which they got to pay the bills. I don't know if you've seen Raven's stream, but he lives in a tiny little apartment. He's probably not financially stable enough to handle being out of work until he finds something else. So I can't blame him for that. Now, they did say that, point out some of their views, and you can check out their Twitters for those. Some of their views, and they seem to be aligned with That's Admirable and Brian Kibler. But again, at the same time, they're not in a position to be able to do that. Which Brian Kibler stated that there are going to be casters that can't do what he's doing because they don't have the resources, which makes total sense. And you can't blame them for that. I do like seeing all the casters. We didn't hear anything from Frodan, but I think there's a little more to that. Frodan does have a little bit of geopolitical connection, being some of his family's over there, so I could see him not making any public statements for that reason. Obviously, again, I'm not speaking for him, and he didn't say this, but there could be connections to family over there he wants to make sure to protect. And I can't blame him for that. But I really am impressed by the Blizzard casters and their stance in this. But that brings us to Blizzard's statement. Do you want to pull it up?
Yeah, late Friday night. So I actually took Friday off and went over to visit family in Nashville, Tennessee, which is about a 3-hour drive for me one way. And I was actually driving back Friday night, and my son is sitting up front in the car with me, and he goes, "Dad, J. Allen Brack just released a statement." I'm like, "Oh, turn the radio down, roll the windows up," like leaning over, driving, like, "All right, read it to me. I got to know what it says." And so basically, he just comes out, and I'm not going to read you the whole statement, but we're going to touch on it.
We'll leave links in the show notes. We definitely will leave links in the show notes.
He says that recently some people had come out and said that they were felt like they were no longer abiding by their core tenets, specifically their core values, which applied to this situation in think globally, lead responsibly, and every voice matters. And he wanted to say that, their esports programs are an expression of their vision and values. Esports exists to create opportunities from players from around the world, from different cultures and different backgrounds, to come together and compete and share their passion for gaming. He says these are extremely important to Blizzard, and to protect these channels and the purpose they serve to bring the world together through epic entertainment, celebrate our players, and build diverse and inclusive communities. He says, so he goes on to address those core values individually. And he says, first, our official esports broadcast was used as a platform for a winner of this event to share his views to the world. He says, we interview competitors who are at the top of their craft so they can share how they feel. Every voice matters, and we strongly encourage everyone in our community to share their viewpoints in the many places available to express themselves. However, the official broadcast needs to be about the tournament and to be a place where all feel welcome. In support of that, we want to keep the official channels focused on the games.
I want to stop there for a quick second, because basically what I read into this from J. Allen Brack is that he is saying esports is to remain esports. He wants the players to feel comfortable talking about anything they deem necessary within that scope of esports. Whether it's calling out another player or giving their opinions about the game, saying that, maybe certain aspects aren't good, things like that. He wants that freedom. But it's not to be used for a way for people to do self-advertisement outside of their esports brand and, of course, political gain. Or any kind of political message. And I agree with him. And I support him, because Blizzard broadcasts need to have an area of neutrality that everybody who loves esports and loves video games can feel comfortable being there. And this message by Blitz Chung may have made certain people feel uncomfortable.
Okay, so second, he says, what is the role of shoutcasters for these broadcasts? And he says, we hire shoutcasters to amplify the excitement of the game. They elevate the watchability and help the esports viewing experience stay focused on the tournament and our amazing players. Third, and I feel like this is one of the most important.
Yeah.
He says, third, were our actions based on the content of the message? He says, the specific views expressed by Blitz Chung were not, all capital letters, not a factor in the decision we made. I want to be clear, our relationships in China had no influence on our decision. We have these rules to keep the focus on the game and on the tournament to the benefit of a global audience, and that was the only consideration in the actions we took. If this had been the opposing viewpoint delivered in the same divisive and deliberate way, we would have felt and acted the same.
Okay. Can we talk about that last statement?
Please do, because I have an issue with the term divisive.
And I strongly don't have an issue with the word divisive. If this had been the opposing viewpoint delivered in the same divisive and deliberate way, his statement was divisive and it was deliberate. Now, does it mean that we don't agree with it? No. I agree with Blitz Chung's statement. I think he took a good, strong political view, political stance. But to some people in the world, maybe people in China that may watch these broadcasts.
Only people in China that watch these broadcasts.
But even if it's a small division, it's still divisive. Now, just because you agree with it doesn't mean it's not a divisive statement. And a divisive statement can be productive. If you're making sure to take your stance and show the solidarity in the majority of people that across the world that agree with freedom of speech, then a divisive stance is important, because you want people to agree with you. And you want those that disagree with you to stand out. So I believe the divisive and deliberate statement wasn't meant in a negative way. It's just that both points of view have divisive stances, and if you do it in the way Blitz Chung did, it was deliberate. So while I know these words sound negative, I don't think he meant them in a negative way. He just means two different points of view.
Yeah, so I have no problem with the word deliberate, because it was, in fact, as you said, 100% deliberate. He knew what he was doing when he did it. Plain and simple. End of story. Close the book on that. However, when he says divisive, I don't see it the way Zeroshio sees it. Like, yes, he says, oh, that's offensive to somebody in China. Well, guess what? Americans breathing is offensive to people in China.
That's fair.
That's just the way it is. They don't give a they don't care about anything else but them.
I agree. But to me, that's the same way.
Catering to the one in lieu of the rest of the think globally core value put you right back where you're not honoring your core value.
I get that, but if you're Neyland Stadium, let's do an analogy here. If you're Neyland Stadium, Vols versus the Florida Gators, and the stadium is majority filled with Vols fans, as they normally are, and you scream out,
section of
and you
Florida
scream
fans
out, "Go Vols!" You're going to be treated with a lot of cheers and very little boos. But that is still a divisive and deliberate statement. Sure, it's a positive statement. Sure, it's done in a way that most of the people in that stadium would cheer you, but it still is divisive. Like I said, divisive doesn't necessarily mean bad. And I don't think J. Allen Brack used that term to mean bad. It just means divisive. It's just a word. And I don't have a problem with the word. I know a lot of people do. And I understand that, because divisive normally is used in a negative connotation. But in this case, I don't think it is. I think it just states the facts. And it was divisive and deliberate, which is exactly what Blitz Chung was trying to do. Look, we're divided now.
We have our divisive opinions on the usage of this statement.
Yeah.
All right. So then he goes on to say, what could Blizzard have done better, and where do we go from here?
This I like.
He says, over the past few days, many players, casters, esports fans, and employees
Everybody
have expressed concerns about how we determined the penalties. We have had a chance to pause, to listen to our community, and to reflect on what we could have done better. In hindsight, our process wasn't adequate, and we reacted too quickly. We wanted to ensure that we maintain a safe and inclusive environment for all of our players, and that our rules and processes are clear. All of this is in service to another of Blizzard's important values: play nice, play fair. In the tournament itself, Blitz Chung played fair. We now believe he should receive his prizing. We understand that for some this is not about the prize, and perhaps for others it is disrespectful to even discuss it. That is not our intention.
So, I like this statement. Now, I have seen a lot of people come back and say, oh, Blizzard only did this because people started boycotting their product and they're trying to save revenue. To that I say, well, yeah, of course. They're a company. Here's the thing. People did not like this punishment. This was the biggest problem that most people had with it, was the punishment. And people started boycotting the product. People started stepping away from their jobs as casting. Some people have stopped playing in the tournaments altogether. And that was a show of solidarity to Blizzard's decision of the penalty. And the reason you protest is trying to get a change or an action from those you're protesting. Blizzard is the ones you were protesting against, and they did that.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying you should. You might not be happy with the resolution, and if you want to still protest and boycott, that's fine.
Let's finish off the resolution. Yeah. He says, playing fair also includes appropriate pre-match conduct, especially when a player accepts recognition for winning in a broadcast. When we think about the suspension, 6 months for Blitz Chung is more appropriate.
Mhm.
After which time, he can compete in the Hearthstone Pro Circuit again if he so chooses. There is a consequence for taking the conversation away from the purpose of the event and disrupting or derailing the broadcast. With regards to the casters, remember their purpose is to keep the event focused on the tournament. That didn't happen here, and we are setting their suspensions to 6 months as well. Moving forward, we will continue to apply tournament rules to ensure our official broadcasts remain focused on the game and not a platform for divisive social or political views. So, they reduced Blitz Chung's ban from 1 year to 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
As we mentioned, they're reinstating his prize money.
Yes.
And he can compete in the Hearthstone Pro Circuit again if he chooses.
Now, there was another statement on Discord by official esports representatives saying that it wasn't extremely clear in the statement by J. Allen Brack.
Right. Does that mean he can go back to competing in Masters Tours, or does he get automatically reinstated to Grandmasters? That's what I felt was not the clear part of that statement.
They did come back and say that he in 6 months he can compete in Masters Tours and all that, but also he will be given his seat in Grandmasters back. So I don't know how they're going to work that, if there'll be an extra relegation slot or what's happening with that, or if they'll apply all of his previous winnings towards that slot. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work. We might have to wait for 6 months. Now, Blitz Chung did come out with a statement saying that he appreciates the prize money back. He still believes 6 months is a little long for a punishment. I don't know if I agree with Blitz Chung. I think 6 months is fine. But he doesn't believe the casters should be punished at all. So he is rallying to try to get the casters reinstated full time. And hopefully he gets that. I do think the casters did take a stance as well. And so an equal punishment for the crime that they committed, which was, in my opinion, is equal to Blitz Chung. 6 months is fine. Now, like I said, a lot of people don't agree with this. But remember, this is why we protest. This is why we boycott and we protest with our wallet. Is so that these changes can be made. And if you took a stance of not playing any Blizzard games or not buying any Blizzard product or anything like that, or not casting for them in the case of Nathan and Brian, then I count this as a win. Now, whether it's enough for you to go back full time as a player or customer or a caster, we'll have to see. We haven't seen a statement from Brian or Nathan yet, and I'm really eager to see how they react. Is this enough for them to go back to work? We'll see.
So now, Blizzard did something you didn't like. You protested it. Blizzard changed their rulings.
Is it enough?
Is it enough to keep it from happening over little things? Blizzard releases a patch. Community doesn't like it. Community protests. Blizzard goes, oh, sorry, we're going to step it back. Where is the line that Blizzard does not just cater to the angry masses?
So I don't think the angry mass way is the handle this. And in the past, players in World of Warcraft have stopped playing and they've reverted certain things they've done in patches and things like that. In the past, in World of Warcraft, they have made changes, or in Hearthstone, they have made changes to cards. Remember the Test Greymane situation where they made it like Yogg? Well, enough people protested on that and showed their dislike that they reverted that change as well. So these type of changes and protests towards these changes have happened before. It's just never been on this global of a scale. I mean, CNN was talking about it. Marco Rubio, the politician, was talking about it. You had Philip DeFranco, who is a wonderful YouTuber that talks about these global issues, talk about it on his show. Mm-hmm. This was big enough that this needed to happen. Mm-hmm. A change of some form, or even a statement from J. Allen Brack saying, we understand people's stance, we don't mean to offend anybody or do anything, but they stood by their decision and made no changes. we at least wanted to hear that much. And I think J. Allen Brack and Blizzard did a good job in communicating this and compromising. I don't like using the word compromising, but it's the only one I can think of right now, because I think they didn't compromise. They realized that the protesters and those that were against their decision had an element of truth and accuracy in their statement, and acted accordingly. And for that, I have to commend Blizzard and J. Allen Brack. Obviously, I've always been real negative on J. Allen Brack. I think he's a corporate yes man, and he is. But if he is saying these things, that means that Blizzard shareholders told him to.
As a president, he is very divisive and deliberate.
Yeah, he is. And the thing is when J. Allen Brack took over Blizzard, I knew at that point everything he said was what the shareholders told him to say. And this actually makes this more positive, because this means the shareholders agree with what J. Allen Brack said, or they would have never let him say it. Yeah. That's my opinion. But I'm really happy that this happened.
Yeah.
I said this before, that the most important thing over the situation is that the message was out there, it became a global issue, and we were talking about it, and that happened.
And you know what I loved? When this first happened, you were adamant. You were adamantly on Blizzard's side, that the players were wrong, the community was wrong.
Yep.
And we had great discussions in the Hero Power Discord.
Yep.
And over the few hours and days, we were able to watch as you started going, maybe the players aren't 100% wrong.
Yeah. And my statement was also divisive and deliberate.
Yeah, and my statement when this first started was Blizzard was 100% right. Zeroshio and I were like opposite ends of the spectrum on this whole thing when it first started. And over time, we kind of met in the middle, like, okay, you're right, Blizzard's not wrong, 100% wrong. Okay, you're right, the players aren't 100% wrong. And we came to a middle ground where everything kind of is okay. We both kind of agree the 6-month suspension is right. We agree with the return of the prize money. And
well, the thing is I was way on one side, you were way on the other. And by the time we got to our bonus episode, we weren't in the middle, but we were closer. Because we had time to think about it.
Right.
We had time to make decisions. Blizzard made this decision, a snap decision, because in the past they've been criticized on waiting too long for punishments. The
Roger situation took almost a year to resolve.
The Roger situation took a year, so maybe they were like, we need to react really quick because that's what the community wants. Well, they did, and then they had more time to think about it.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing I did say on our bonus episode is the one part of it I didn't agree with is I did believe the punishment was too harsh. I was glad there was a punishment, but I believed it was too harsh. And this statement by J. Allen Brack did retract some of that punishment, and I think it's a nice.
Yeah.
It is a good middle ground. I think something still had to happen to Blitz Chung, or his message wouldn't have held any weight, and it wouldn't have traveled the distance it did.
Right.
Now, I think that Blitz Chung's going to be fine. Obviously, there's other channels he can go. It's not in the show notes, but Gods Unchained offered him some stuff, but then shortly after, all their servers got hacked and cyber attacked. I'm a conspiracy theorist on this, and I believe that
China.
No. Everybody believes it's China. I think Gods Unchained went, oh wow, we promised this guy so much stuff, and everybody says we're going to do it. We need something to back away from this. So they created this cyber attack themselves. Now that is a very tinfoil hat, but I've never been a fan of Gods Unchained. I don't like their marketing tactics. I don't like their game. So that's probably speaking from that biased point of view, but I don't think there was a legitimate cyber attack on their servers.
Going forward, anything that happens online, I'm just going to blame China.
I'm going to blame Gods Unchained. I think they started all of this. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, so let's talk about something a little more light and a little better to talk about, and that's Grandmasters playoffs have begun.
Now, before we start getting into some of these results, a spoiler, we're going to talk about the first couple days going into today, which is Champion Sunday, where they're going to decide the regional champions. The broadcast was very different. You didn't watch any of it?
I didn't watch any of it because I actually thought they were taking a week off before going into playoffs.
Well, no, because next week is Bucharest, so they have to get this done. Here's the thing. So that's admirable. So we had Sottle, and we had Frodan. And then we had Abar. Now, if you don't know Abar, he was in the pro scene for a long time and disappeared, and I found out later that he's been on the production team as their stat analyst. Anytime Sottle is rattling off statistics, it's because Abar's feeding into his headset. Abar stepped up as a third man, and they rotated the table. Sottle and Abar and Frodan, then Frodan and Sottle, and they just rotated those three guys all weekend. And man, did they do a great job. And Abar is really good on the microphone.
Good.
As a statistical analysis
yeah.
Caster, he is awesome. And I hope first that Brian and Nathan come back to casting. Obviously, Brian Kibler only usually does the high profile events, but your grinder caster that's admirable. I hope that Abar stays on the production team. However, there's obviously a shift because there's a different statistical analysis person working the desk. There's obviously the production team moved. Maybe there were other people on the production team left. There were a lot of production cues that got missed. There were no post-game interviews at all.
I'm not surprised. They announced in the Tespa Collegiate that they would be doing no more post-game interviews.
But the production was passable. But there were a lot of things where they did the split screen for the mulligans. And then they would... The first player would draw their hand, you'd see the card twice because the split screen's still there. And Frodan would be like, wow, that card's so good, we had to see it twice. And then he would pause and go, that card was so good, we had to see it twice. And then shortly, the production would change it to the right view. So, obviously, there was some... Frodan was even getting a little frustrated with some of the production cues missing. And that's probably because they have people that normally aren't at those desks doing those jobs because of all the shakeup.
Right.
And there may be somebody doing two jobs at once because certain people left the position temporarily. Now, hopefully, this changes. But let's get into some of these results.
So we'll start with Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And we had Bunny Hopper versus Hunter Ace. And Hunter Ace advanced.
Click the group matchups.
No, that's not right.
Yeah, because that's not how it looked.
No.
There you go.
It's Hunter Ace versus Pavel.
Well, this is how it works. So Hunter Ace was the number 1 seed, and Pavel's the number 4 seed. So it says Hunter Ace versus Pavel, but really it's a first round bye. So Pavel goes to the losing bracket no matter what. So Hunter Ace got his first round bye, which would have been versus Pavel. Bunny Hopper and Silvername played fabulously.
I need you to say Silvername 5 times fast.
Silvername
faster.
Played fabulously and beat Bunny Hopper, which put Pavel versus Bunny Hopper, and Pavel, in my opinion, upset Bunny Hopper. I thought he was a has-been champion that was trying to sneak his way into the BlizzCon again, but he played really well versus Bunny Hopper. Then, of course, it was Hunter Ace and Silvername. Silvername beats Hunter Ace 2-0. Hunter Ace is on a 4-game losing streak. This is bad.
Yeah. And then in the elimination matches, you had Pavel 2-1 over Bunny Hopper.
And this was barely.
Yeah, and then, of course, Hunter Ace, having lost Silvername, dropped down to face Pavel, and Hunter Ace won 2-1.
Yeah. The Hunter Ace ends up qualifying through the losers bracket, so Silvername and Hunter Ace in that group. The next group was, you have to go back and then click on the...
No. This one.
So group
then the group B, I guess, is you had Yarla
with the bye,
and then you had Casey winning 2-0 over Colento. And then in the elimination matches, you had Thijs beating Colento 2-0. And then
he's the best Colento, by the way.
And then in the winners match, you had Yarla, who with the bye, versus Casey, and Yarla won 2-1, which dropped Casey down to face Thijs, and Casey beat Thijs 2-1.
Yeah, that to me that was an upset because Thijs came in this really strong, and I hate that he's not going to BlizzCon because I am a huge Thijs fan. We're playing a Thijs deck tonight.
Yeah, in fact we are. So, all right, let's go look over at the Americas now. And in the first group, you had Eddie with the bye, and then you had Nalgwadon versus Monsanto, and Nalgwadon advanced into the winners match versus Eddie. And then in the elimination bracket, you had Frozen, who beat Monsanto 2-1 to advance. And then in the winners match, Eddie beat Nalgwadon 2-0 to advance, which made
Eddie's
the
killing it.
decider match Nalgwadon versus Frozen, and Nalgwadon won 2-1 to advance.
So I want to talk about this for a little bit. Nalgwadon is doing really well this season. He was very high in his group. He was first for a long time. However, his practice strategy is very lazy, and he does make a lot of misplays that I don't agree with. I hate seeing him beat Frozen, but Nalgwadon is an amazing player. I just think if he practiced more and actually put in the work some of these players did, he could actually be the best in the world. I don't think he's going to make it far at BlizzCon, but he's been proving me wrong this far. I think he has a poor work ethic. It's been called out by Gallon live on the broadcast. But he's proven everybody wrong by winning these games.
Yeah. And then in the other bracket of the Americas,
let's talk about it.
You had Just Saying with that bye, and then you had Bloody Face 2-0 over Purple. So your winner's match was Just Saying versus Bloody Face. In the elimination match, you had Purple versus Muzzy, and Purple advanced 2-1. And then back in that winner's match, Bloody Face beats Just Saying 2-0
so Bloody Face
to advance.
Bloody Face went 4-0 this weekend, absolutely destroying everybody. Now I've been watching Bloody Face's streams, and he has been very openly practicing his decks live on his streams. So any of these players could watch him and get an idea what he's doing. So that is a lot of times a disadvantage. And the fact that he has done that, put in the work, and still is destroying fools, that's sick. Now, that brings us to the elimination decider match for Just Saying versus Purple. Purple wins 2-1. This is a very close match. I loved watching this. Purple has a way about him that no matter whether he's winning or losing, he looks like he just doesn't care.
Yeah. So after losing his initial match, he comes back and wins his way out of the losers bracket to advance.
But he has such a his facial expression for his loss versus Bloody Face, his facial expressions for the wins both rounds, it was the same. He's happy to be here. He's having fun playing Hearthstone, and this is probably the coolest and the calmest I've seen Purple. I love Bloody Face, but Purple could win the whole thing.
Yeah,
he really can.
I've been watching Purple do his duo streams with Zalay, and the way they just talk through the plays, it's been phenomenal.
Yeah.
Great stream if you got time to check it out. So that leaves us with the APAC. So over in the APAC, you had Cheonsu with that initial match bye, and then you had Tyler versus Glory. Now Tyler wins that match 2-1 to advance to face Cheonsu in the winner's match. So dropping down to that elimination match, and I know I'm not real sure how to pronounce this. Is it Alutimu?
Alutimu.
Okay, Alutimu versus Glory, and Alutimu wins 2-0 to advance into the decider match. Back in that winner's match, Tyler beats Cheonsu 2-1 to advance. dropping Chiansu to face Alatimu in the Deciders match, where Chiansu wins 2-1 as well.
So this is one of the tightest groups in Grandmasters, in my opinion. Honestly, Glory, I'd forgotten he was in Grandmasters. But Alutimu, Chiansu, and Tyler are all evenly matched. Alutimu in any other division, in any other region, probably would be going to BlizzCon. And the fact that he had to face Chiansu and barely lost in the Decider match, I wish there was a way to put one extra person in there, because Alutimu is good, and I think he's going to kill it next season.
Yeah. All right. And then in our last Grandmasters bracket, or group, I should say, you had Tom 60229 getting that initial match bye, and then you had Dawn versus Surrender, and Dawn advances 2-1, making a winner's match of Tom 60229 and Dawn. And then in the elimination match, you had Shaxi versus Surrender, and Surrender won that match 2-0 to advance to the Decider match. And then in the winner's match, Dawn beats the 2017 World Champ 2-0, dropping Tom 60229 into that elimination Decider match, where he beats Surrender 2-0 to advance.
I was worried about Tom because Surrender is a beast. He's always come very prepared. And somebody I did not expect to do well was Dawn. And Dawn has surprised me. He's another one I want to watch, because he could really do well at BlizzCon. I'm really excited. This is a stacked.
It is. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Or a stacked championship coming into today.
Yeah.
And so whoever qualifies for BlizzCon, I think, is going to make for a great BlizzCon. Well, we have Hunter Ace, former champion. We have Tom, former champion. There are so many good players.
Yeah.
Bloody Face has been a grinder since 2016 when we met him in the pro circuit.
Yeah.
Man, I think this is
It's going to be a lot of fun.
This is much more stacked than season 1.
Yeah. All right, so that brings us to this week's Tavern Brawl. This week's Tavern Brawl is Doom in the Tomb. The Headless Horseman is haunting the tombs of Uldum. Fight to his lair, if you dare. Rewards. So in this, it is a dungeon run brawl. There are 8 bosses, with the Horseman as the last boss, and there are rewards for beyond just the free pack that you get for doing it, but you also get a reward if you finish it in under 60 minutes,
which is a Saviors. Not a Saviors. It was the one before, Rise of Shadows pack.
Okay.
Because you're playing as all the villains this time.
Right.
Next week is supposed to be all the heroes. This week's villains. So if you do it under 60 minutes, you're going to get a Rise of Shadows pack. If you do it under 40 minutes, you get a golden card that I can't remember the name of. It's the 2-mana spell that draws you a secret and turns it to 0 cost.
Okay.
Yes. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a Mage spell. It's not really a great reward. I did mine in 40 minutes and 11 seconds. I might go back and do it again.
Okay.
I've already got a golden of that card. It would just give me a second copy. So
there you go. All right, and this week, as Zeroshio mentioned earlier in the show, we are playing a Thijs deck. It is the Rogue Deathrattle deck. So I'm going to run this deck list down and then let Zeroshio tell you guys how to play it, because I'm 0-8 with it. So I'm going to be learning right along with you guys today as Zeroshio drives and we play this deck. So it's 2 copies of Backstab, 2 Shadow Step, 2 Pharaoh Cat, 1 Togwaggle Scheme, 1 Blood Mage Thalnos, 2 Shiv, 1 Edwin Van Cleef, 2 Evil Miscreant, 2 Fan of Knives, 2 Necrium Blade, 1 Snip Snap, 2 Blight Nozzle Crawler, 1 Anka the Buried, 1 Ziliax, 1 Cairn Bloodhoof, 1 Emperor Thorson, 2 Kartut Defenders, 1 Mechanical Whelp, 1 Safeguard, 1 Sylvanas Windrunner, and 1 N'Zoth the Corruptor.
So this is a very grindy, control-y style rogue. It is It is a bit difficult to play, but it's a lot of fun. I went 10-0 when I first started with this deck, and then I've faced some losses. The new N'Zoth Priest deck has become popular, and that can be a tough matchup. But the goal here is to, solidify the early game, to try to get to that mid game. Make sure you use your health as a resource because you'll get plenty of healing from the Kartut defenders. You want to hold your N'Zoth until you can Shadow Step him, or you can use an Emperor Tick to reduce the cost of N'Zoth or your Togwaggle Scheme. One of the two. So you can play Togwaggle and immediately scheme it. Or play
N'Zoth and then scheme it.
And then immediately scheme it. Now, if you say get a reduction, you can then at that point freely use your Shadow Steps. If not, you don't draw into the Thorson. You want to play the N'Zoth, Shadow Step it, so now it's 8 mana, and you can play it with the scheme. So there's a lot of different ways you can play this. Depending on some matchups, you might have to scheme something else. If you're playing a mirror match and they play a N'Zoth, or you're playing against another N'Zoth deck, you can scheme their N'Zoth. So there's a lot of different ways to go with this. Obviously, early game, you want to mulligan for the low-costed cards. But sometimes I will keep something like the Blade or the Necrean Blade, or some of the later game stuff like maybe a Kartut Defender, or if I draw into Anka in the mulligan, I usually like to keep it, because you throw an Anka down on curve, then all those death rattles in your hand become 1, and you really don't mind that they're 1/1s, because once they die, you're going to bring them back with N'Zoth.
Full health as N'Zoth, with N'Zoth. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, cool. Well, I'm looking forward to watching this deck get played, because like I said, I watched a little bit of Thijs play it, but then really wasn't, it was just kind of on in the background.
And we want to play a friend this morning against somebody, Boyd, and it worked really well.
It worked really well, yeah. So, all right, guys. If you're joining us on Twitch or YouTube, please stay tuned for the live play portion of our show. If you are listening via our audio podcast, we'd like to thank you for joining us. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter at HeroPower_cast, and you can find all of our past episodes on YouTube at youtube.com/ECMMOGamers, or on our website at HeroPowerHS.com. If you enjoy the show, you'd like to help support and improve it, you can do so by joining our Patreon over at patreon.com/HeroPower. And we'll see you all again next week.
And don't forget to use your hero power.
Alrighty, gang. Well, we since we are both sitting side by side, there's no waiting and there's no lag here. So let's just jump right into it. I'm going to hand the mouse off to Zeroshio.
Well, we'll make this happen. There has been a decline on the win rate of this deck a little bit now that people have figured it out, and they're playing a lot of the other N'Zoth controlling decks, and sometimes they can outpace you. It really depends on the draw in those matchups, though.
Right.
Mage, interesting. So I'm going to assume this is probably Tempo Mage, but it could be
the hero.
So we don't have the coin, so Evil Miscreant is good, but it's not great. I think I'm still going to keep it, and then I'm going to throw everything else back.
Yeah, because we want Sylvanas and Safeguard for later.
We'll watch chat if anybody
Okay.
Then we got Anka the Buried, which is good.
Emperor Thorson.
And Emperor Thorson. No death rattles, but I think that's fine. Now, getting the backstab is really good, especially if it is tempo. And if he plays anything, we could curve out with the Miscreant. That'll be really nice.
Oh, Raid the Sky Temple.
Okay, so this is probably a Kibler deck. Yeah, this changes things a little bit. This is kind of the Sky Temple deck does play a lot like Tempo, but a little bit slower, which might play into our strength. So we're just going to play the Pharaoh Cat. Well, do I want to save the Pharaoh Cat to couple with the Miscreant? I think I do. So I'm going to Hero Power instead, for the possibility that we can Pharaoh Cat into Miscreant.
Okay. On turn 4?
On turn 4. That's a little late, but his deck's going to be slower. I really don't mind that he completes his quest because, to be honest, his quest, in my opinion, is not that strong. It's just giving him more juice. Ooh.
Oh, yeah. So now we draw into Necrium Blade.
I think we just override our weapon. Let's hit face first because we don't want to swing with Necrium Blade this turn.
Right.
There's no minions to hit, and we're not trying to activate Necrium Blade
but next turn we can Pharaoh Cat Miscreant.
Mm-hmm. We want to draw into some of our death rattles, though.
Before we play Anka, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's one.
That's a good one.
And that's a very good one to get. Yeah. So he played a secret. So let's go ahead and see if maybe it's Mirror Entity or something like that. No. Oh.
Yep. It is Mirror Entity.
I am down with that. This allows us to take a charge off our weapon to set up to use it. Let's go ahead and Evil Miscreant. We got Ethereal and the Faceless. I like the Ethereal, and then we'll just clear that.
Yep. And now this allows us to Anka on curve.
Yes, but we might not, because we're only reducing one. I'd rather Anka and then Mechanical Whelp.
Okay.
All together.
Okay.
Okay, so he's protecting that. That could be a counterspell, which might be a problem. But I think we try to backstab
Just
that
try to
anyways.
backstab it and see.
We can test it for another Mirror Entity.
Well, we could clear the board with minions with Ziliax.
We can. So let's see if this is counterspell first. My worry is that it's Mirror Entity again.
No, it's counterspell.
It is counterspell, which is fine.
Now we clear the board with...
Yeah, the problem is we're going to use up our Necrium Blade.
Well, that's true.
I'm not sure if I want to do that yet.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and play the Ziliax and clear these two and let him go a little nuts. It's probably going to be a Flamewaker turn, which I'm fine with actually.
Okay.
Because it's preserved the shield. I'm not going to clear that.
Okay.
Which might telegraph him a little bit, but I would like to Anka, Mechanical Whelp, and then swing with the weapon.
Right. Okay. Well, now you'll get a discount on the blot nozzle as well.
I sure will. And we got us some fuel for an Edwin. So he's trying to protect his Sorcerer's Apprentice a little bit here. This is likely... Oh,
discarded a polymorph.
So I'm seeing a Mana Cyclone possibly this turn. Mirror Image in a finishing quest. He can't use it this turn, which is inconsequential, really. And then Mana Cyclone?
He has no mana.
Oh, no, he can play the elemental, the zero cost spell.
Gotcha.
To play into Mana Cyclone, but I think he doesn't have it, or he would have snap picked it. You're not going to run him in.
Why did it
freeze
lock
up?
up? Disconnected, reconnected.
It's fine.
He did run it in.
He ran it in. Okay. So we're going to play Anka. And we got the N'Zoth draw. That's nice. We can eventually Thorson. And then this was going to reduce Mechanical Whelp down. We'll play the Mechanical Whelp.
Yeah.
So we can't quite get to that, but that's fine.
This
So
will
we'll run this
trigger.
in, giving us a 7/7. We'll go ahead and chunk that, and then hold. So
Wow.
at this point, this is when I want to start seeing Kartut Defenders, because I have the N'Zoth.
Yep.
We can safely play the Thorson. We can actually really set up a huge Edwin, too. Because he's going to use a lot of resources to clear this board. There's the Elemental Evocation. Into Mana Cyclone?
I don't think he has it. He
I
would
don't
have
think he
snapped
does
it.
either. Wow.
He's going to wait and see what we do.
Dead. So I think we deal with this board right now.
I agree.
So let's go ahead and trade this one in. So we have those two lackeys. I want to play the Thorson this turn.
Yeah, because we want to get the tick on the N'Zoth.
So I think we make some value trades here. So let's trade here.
Uh-huh.
And I think we can go ahead and safely trade in the Ziliax.
Wait, well, okay.
I like the Ziliax. I don't really want to chunk down the
right.
The
I was
dragon
thinking about
too
trading
much.
in the mechanical.
Yeah, well, I want him to have a problem with playing board clears.
Gotcha.
So right now we have a 7/7, so he wants to clear the board, but he can't clear the board because of the well.
We'll get another
which
7/7,
means he'll have to ping.
Yeah.
So we'll go ahead and trade. Go ahead and run in, and then I'm going to play the Feral Cat.
Okay.
That's a good one to get
Oh, that is
reduced.
good.
That's a good one to get
Reborn.
reduced because at 3 mana, that fits into a Edwin turn. We can actually play all our 0 cost. Well, he'll have if he clears the board, we'll play all our 0 costs, and then all our 3, 3, and 2.
Right.
If he clears the board.
So he's clearing.
Now, he's not clearing. He's just getting rid of the Thorson.
Yeah. Okay.
Where are we at? 5, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. We got 17? 18 if we want to shiv his face.
Is that including the weapon attack?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I think I want to trade in, though. I
Yeah.
don't want that spell damage. So,
Trade
we're
the
going to
cats
trade these
and
two, and then I'm going to shiv.
Okay.
And then I want to utilize the rest of my mana with the Bone Wraith and the Ancestral Guardian. And then we'll just go face, setting up for lethal next turn.
Okay.
I'm not going to play anything else, because I actually want to have some board space open for the mechanical whelp charges and things like that. This is good. He's only 2 mana. He's dead.
Yep.
I was going to say possibly a Frost Nova, but he would need a mana.
Still
for that.
dead.
Yep. There we go. We tempoed him out.
Yep.
Good job.
All right.
So the way you play this game is kind of a cross between tempo and control. So you want to tempo out early to mid game, and then once you start getting into the late game, you want to start turning the tide towards control.
Okay.
Using your face as a resource, so healing means something. So the Kartut Defenders, the Ziliax, things like that actually impact the game some. You don't want to heal when you're at 30 health.
Right.
So if you can save yourself a minion by using your face, do it.
Warlock.
Sybil. I like Sybil.
All right. So
we're on the coin.
we're on the coin with Van Cleef and a Necrium Blade. So do we throw back both Necrium Blades and keep Van Cleef and Shadow Step and try to get greedy and try to make a bigger Van Cleef?
I think you're right. Let's keep Van Cleef and Shadow Step. We have 2 Shadow Steps in the deck. And we also have the Thorson, so we don't have to have both Shadow Steps for that.
Yeah, there's the Miscreant.
Oh, that's really good.
So we could turn to Miscreant and then...
You turn to Miscreant, and then Shadow Stepping the Miscreant's pretty much the same.
Yeah.
We're going to pass this one. If we turn to Miscreant, we'll have 2 lackeys in our hand. It won't be an early... Maybe we just... I think I'm going to dagger
up and... Yeah.
Because I'm anticipating this is not Zoo. I don't see loot hoarders in Zoo. But this allow us to possibly get us a big Van Cleef. What? What is this? Okay, I think our game might have just changed. Maybe we do get the big... So the Van Cleef will be 1, 2, 3, 4... It'll be a 10-10?
Yeah.
So Van Cleef, Shadow Step, Coin, Van Cleef. This reminds me of the game we played 8-8. We didn't have the backstab.
Right.
That I was, for some reason, factoring in a backstab.
Go face.
Do we think we're going to Necrium Blade next turn?
It depends what he does.
Yeah, let's go face.
So we don't really have a whole lot for a turn 4.
So
than,
I'm expecting a taunt on this.
Yeah.
This looks like a basic deck. This is like a
Sun Fury Protector, yeah.
So there's the taunt. Okay. I think we Necrium Blade, but we don't use it this turn.
Swing with it, yeah.
Do we even need to clear that?
I don't think so. Not right now.
I think you're right. Next turn we can Shiv into Miscreant.
Uh-huh.
We can Ziliax. We're probably going to want to hit that 0-3 and then clear the
3. It's 3-4, isn't it?
4-3, I think. Or what is it? 3-4, you're right. It'll be hard to clear the 3-4.
No, we can use the Necrium Blade and the Shiv. Or we could clear the 0-3 with the Edwin and then hit it with Ziliax and Shiv. But no, you wouldn't want to do that.
Shiv?
If you want to use Ziliax, you want to use Ziliax to pop the egg so you don't lose the...
Yeah. But we can't Ziliax and Shiv this turn.
Yeah.
I think this might be an Evil Miscreant turn.
Shiv, Evil Miscreant?
Yeah. Where do we send the Shiv? I think we need to run this in.
Okay.
Do we Shadow Step?
And play him again?
And then Evil Miscreant? Yeah. I
Okay.
like this. So Shadow Step, Evil Miscreant, deal the 2 damage.
Yep.
Where do we want to send it? Let's clear this. Now let's summon the Faceless Lackey instead.
Okay.
Just because the 2 damage.
Wait.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
And then
I was going to say, you want to wait for the Faceless Lackey to resolve in case it summons a Doomsayer.
So that's a 1 in 55 chance.
Still could happen.
I think it's... No, it might be 80 something now. it is really, really low. Wow, he's really worried about that toad. I mean, I'd be worried about the Van Cleef.
The 8 Van Cleef again. Now, we've used both of our Shadow Steps.
Yes, we have. So now we have to rely on Thorson. We have
Right.
to remember that. We can't play N'Zoth until we Thorson him, so we can't... we need to be able to play N'Zoth with the scheme at the same time.
Correct.
But this matchup is awkward. We needed to do that.
He's going to run everything into clear.
We are at rank 17, so there may be a little bit
Yeah.
of that affecting. So, wow, this is good.
So you play the Anka here?
I like Anka Safeguard.
Okay.
And then I think we just leave the Kartit alone.
I agree.
What the Safeguard is going to do is give us 2 targets for our Ziliax. Because if they clear the Safeguard, which they're going to,
Yeah.
they then have an 0-5 they have to clear. And Ziliax can go on top of that.
Yeah.
We also have Whelp Ziliax if we really want.
Right.
Or, well, we can't really Whelp. I guess technically we can Whelp Kobold Lackey to pop the Whelp.
And then
I've done that.
Ziliax,
So we're not behind enough to need to do that.
Right.
If we were behind,
Right.
if he just started loading up with huge taunts and stuff out of nowhere, that would be an option. Again, I always like to think of 2-3 different lines of play.
I think you saved the Shiv for the Reborn on the cartoon.
Oh yeah, definitely. Backstab's good.
I think you still Ziliax onto the 0-5, run in and
Run in
clear,
and then shiv it. Okay, I like it. And then face.
and then just go face. Yeah, absolutely. Start applying the pressure.
His healing is inconsequential because he heals for 1 when he could have healed for 6.
Yep.
Then we just face. I'm not going to use my weapon because I want to save it for either the need for the Blight Nozzle or Mechanical Whelp.
Right.
This is how you play the deck.
Gotcha. Yeah, see, I was
you
just...
have to slow down.
Yeah,
That's the trick.
I was trying to play it as a tempo, and that's where I think I was failing.
it's
Like, I was playing straight tempo.
Truthfully, it's a mid-range deck.
Right.
So there are elements of tempo, but then you have to be able to kind of turn the dial a little bit when it's time to slow down and be more control. Like right now, we're slowing down.
Right.
Now
we have board control at
if
the
he
moment.
doesn't develop enough, we're going to start going face because he can't handle it. Shadow Flame. Oh, wow. That's a good turn by him. Now what?
2 mana left.
Doomsayer.
Okay. All right.
There's
So
the scheme.
now, do we just trot out the Mechanical Whelp and hit him in the face and then have a 7/7 on board?
So we have an option here. We can do that. Or we can Blight Nozzle, swing face, use the Poisonous to kill the 07, leaving the Poisonous still on the board to deal with, and then we can either go face or trade into the 4/5.
Okay.
Now, we can backstab and use our face to clear the 4/5.
That's a good plan. Yeah.
So we're going to play the Blight Nozzle. Oh, we don't want that. Backstab. Use our face. That's going to pop us out a rushing Poisonous. That's going to clear the 07. We'll go face. We want to dagger up.
Yeah.
And the question is, do we just want to develop? And I think we do.
I think so, yeah.
I even think the 2 damage to face is relevant. I just want more minions on the board.
Okay.
This partially plays a little bit around a mind control tech because we are already going to develop into a mind control tech. This gives him one lesser value minion to take.
Right.
So he could take 2 of the 1/1s. Now we wouldn't necessarily want him to take the rushing Poisonous, but it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
Right.
There really isn't good options other than the Mechanical Whelp for him to take. But it reduces that by an extra 5% by putting another minion on the board. Those are little micro things you got to think about when you're a control player.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a lethal here? I don't think so.
Run the 1/1 Poisonous in, then clear with
Our face?
yeah.
Then
5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He'll be at 2.
No, he'll be more than that
that's right.
he's got
Because
a
the heal,
Yeah.
the 6 points of heal. Yeah.
I don't think we play
I don't think he plays Sylvanas either.
Sylvanas because we know he plays Flame Strike, and a Flame Strike turn would be really rough with the Sylvanas on the board.
Correct.
I mean, obviously we get a 7/7 and a 1/1 Poisonous Rush out of it, threatening lethal still, but I don't think we're already threatening lethal.
I don't think he plays Flame Strike.
Not Flame Strike. What he already played.
Yeah.
Yeah, my brain is fried today. The where he sacrifices a minion. So we know he plays that.
Soften Soul, okay.
That means he doesn't have a way to pop the Whelp, or he would have Siphon Souled the Whelp. So let's start with the Pharaoh Cat.
See what we get. Okay.
I think we just put both of these down because now we have something to take, and even if he runs that in to try to soften the blow, it's going to make. We'll get a 1/1.
Yeah.
We'll get some value out of it, and the most value we get out of Sylvanas right now is it just dying.
Yeah.
So I think we
Go
just
face.
go face.
With everything.
Just
yep.
pressure it. He can't really
can't.
clear the board because of he can't deal with the Mechanical Whelp.
Right.
Now he might be able to run into the Mechanical Whelp, but then what does he do? He's got a Reborn minion. He's got Sylvanas on the board. He's got the Blight Nozzle Crawler. He's kind of stuck.
We need to top deck Thorison now to get a tick on the scheme.
Thorison would be good. I mean, we're already
Okay, he's
good on
clearing,
scheme.
which means he must have a way to deal with it.
Twisting Nether. But this still leaves us a 3/1 and a 1/1. We're 1 off lethal. We got lethal.
We got lethal.
And And there we go.
Nice.
2-0.
Nice.
Sub's done.
2-0.
So you don't even have to have N'Zoth shenanigans to win with this deck.
That's right.
You can tempo them out. But when that tempo runs out, and it will run out, any tempo deck will run out of tempo eventually, mainly because of draws and things like that, then you can kind of transition to the Cartoon Defenders, the Cairns. We saw starting to transition with Sylvanas there anyways. And so then you kind of transition to more of a mid-range attack, and then finally you get to the late game, and it's just you're just playing N'Zoth, drawing N'Zoth to play a N'Zoth, and at that point you're control.
Yeah. So you want to do the honors?
What's that?
You want to do the honors?
Oh, am I? I got to read it.
No.
Oh.
Do you want to do the honors?
Opening a pack? So you don't want anything good?
Opening my golden pack.
So what was it your son says?
I don't know.
You do this little thing here, and nothing happens?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe that is correct.
So we got us a rare. See?
Yeah.
I told you.
That's okay.
So, oh, wow. 5 goldens. This is good, man.
Right? Man.
Holy Wrath Golden.
So
That's the one I want because you just love that art as you're just beating them with a 25% high roll. That's how I won my THL match this week because I 25% high rolled up with Holy Wrath when I was behind.
All right, gang. That's going to do it for us this week. If you have any questions or comments about the show, please email us at heropowerpodcast@gmail.com. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube if you haven't done so already, or give us a follow on Twitch to be alerted when we go live. And as we said, for more details on our patron-only Discord, head on over to patreon.com/heropower. We'll see you all again next week.
Bye, guys.